Hey, welcome to another episode. And I'm joined by Mudise, Sihle. How you guys doing?
Cold.
Easy, brother. How are you?
I know, man, just fatigue. I won't lie, guys. Yo. My eyes in here right now. It's I'm seeing stars. I'm seeing stars. But yeah, man,
Yeah,
guys,
no,
I think the stars that you're seeing is
yeah.
it's the stars that your team is not signing. But anyway,
Hey,
rest, brother, rest.
nah.
that's not what we're here to talk about, brother. Please
Exactly,
allow us to cry
exactly.
in peace. At least
Yes.
Kaiser Chiefs made a couple of signings. If that's
Eh,
if you're talking
Nah,
about
they clear.
Pirates, but
It Chiefs made me proud by clearing off quite a few players, and I say a few, just I use that word loosely. They've made me
Yeah.
yeah,
proud because it's very difficult for a team
Mhm.
to make a stance as in draw a line in the sand to say we made a mistake with our previous signings. These players are not Chiefs material.
Yeah.
And now we're clearing them, which is brilliant, and that in itself gives us an opportunity to get players that represent his style of football. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to supporting the Chiefs, to be honest.
Wow.
yes,
Are you guys
stadium.
that opt? I know we have to do that, kids, but we have to
Yeah,
now. We need to
yeah,
have the derby, the next derby. Definitely,
yeah,
guys, we have to
yeah.
go. Because at least
Nah,
it's
but I, I
we
think
can.
I think gents, we need to
Yeah.
stop. Yabona, I'd love to see South African football be at a state where Asmogi only derby.
Yeah.
We interested in these games. I remember like one of my first proper game that I watched PSL was Verts versus Chiefs, and it was a home game here, Verts.
Yeah.
I had so much fun.
Yeah,
And I'd love for us
but
to go back to
it was the
those
Wits
times.
University days, right? Not the
Thank
Yeah.
Bidvest
you.
days. Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
was the
that was
Vets
a
University
different.
days. I
Yeah,
enjoyed myself.
Yeah. No. No
yeah.
doubt. No
No,
doubt.
you've got a
Like
point. You've got a point.
I know,
Yeah,
Vele,
it's
you do have a point. It's just me now. Of course, I can't watch Pirates play against Sundowns. Like I can watch Pirates play against
wasn't
other teams,
shy.
not
I mean, it wasn't
Yo,
shy.
Dog, and too much.
Literally against Sundowns.
collect a six.
Yeah,
I know
And
Sundowns doesn't
you know
see
this,
Pirates,
the
dog.
thing is that if you
Hey,
collect maybe four and you're going
yeah,
home, end of that it's gonna be a long trip. No
yo,
amount of beer is gonna help you forget.
the last
dog,
time
that's it.
I used to trust Pirates against Sundowns was when Tula Sizwe, what's his surname? Tula Sizwe
Muyan.
Mbuyane used to play.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
He always
those
used
were
to
the
score against Sundowns.
days.
Ever since he left, I no more.
Hey, dog, that's it. But
No
you're
Uh,
more.
taking me back. You're taking me back.
No
That's
they
more.
when I
they
used
they
to
having
watch
when
Pirates,
right now
man.
Sundowns they having you as your daily bread and maybe shy under
Mm.
that always like when
Yo,
shying a score.
I will clap. It's like it's always plus three. Plus three,
And
We don't
the
even, yeah.
the
Yeah,
only
sorry?
team capable of beating Sundowns in the PSL is Chiefs, and we've
Yeah.
proved that every season. No
Yeah,
other
Yeah,
no,
team
very
can
true.
beat Sundowns.
But
yeah.
Even though we lost
Pirates
2
have got
nil
a new
last season,
coach.
but
Yeah.
oh, who
Ish.
Jose
Pirates have got a
Jose
new coach. I've
Mourinho.
never heard of him. I just know his name
Yeah.
is Jose. I don't know whether it's Jose is in Portuguese Jose or is in South
I know it's
American
Spanish.
Jose.
I know it's
So
Spanish. So
so
it's,
it's
yeah,
Jose.
it's
It's
Jose.
Jose. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
What you
Riviera.
mean on Jose win that?
He's only managed a team. He's only been head coach twice in his like close to 20-year career, dog. So
In
that's what's
Finland.
yeah in Finland.
Mm, mm, mm,
Finland's
mm,
economy
mm.
is amazing, but I'm not sure about their football. So I
But
know from an
you.
economic standpoint, Finland as one of
But I'm telling
the
you, did he apply for the position or?
hey
I,
man,
the Iron
hey,
Duke, you never know, Chief. He
hey
got
Iron
Jay
Duke.
Z from there.
Yeah, and Jay Z at least won us a trophy. At least with Jay
Yeah.
Z, we had an MTN 8 in 2020.
Mm,
But yeah, man, like for me, the problem I have with Pirates is continuity.
mm.
Even remember the times when we won the treble, we won with the crawl. Then they didn't want to renew his contract. We won.
When
Mm.
there was
Like,
there was a
you see what I'm
mistake in
saying?
it. When there was a
to renew his
mistake.
contract. And this is a man who built Pirates using our academy, because the span of our team was Uchale, Nomanyisa, and they were both they were
The
both
terrible
youngsters,
twins.
and they were
Yabona
problems.
the Pirates
Let me
of
feel.
crawl. The Pirates
Hey,
of crawl. Hey, that was a very hard
dude,
team to beat.
that was
There was
Isaac
a very
Chance,
difficult
bruh.
Pirates to
Dude.
ukuthi bengibangani ukuthi what was the gripe ukuthi you don't want to renew the contract, whether he wanted investment.
Of
We'll
course,
never know.
wouldn't you want an investment if you it's the first time in 10 years, but the last time we won a trophy was in 2000. Then 2010, 2011, we win 3. Bruh. And of course you
A
use
parent should have put a statue. A parent should have put a statue of Root Crawl outside training, because that was a major fumble.
No, Root Crawl should have just stayed. That's it.
I think also
Should've
he
just
was
stayed.
temperamental. I was about to say, I also think he was temperamental now.
Yeah, exactly.
And he understood the philosophy, bro. Like for me, football is a philosophy. Like Chiefs has its own philosophy. The time, if you watch Kaizer Chiefs when we still had Abu Junior Kanye, Jabupul, in those days, that was the Chiefs philosophy. That's the type of football Kaizer Chiefs played. And Root Crawl rebuilt Orlando Pirates' philosophy of football, where the key was built in the middle of the park with the terrible twins. You couldn't get past Jalino Manyisa Ngakpata.
So here's what Motise say. You speak on that. You make me laugh, because like the one time I was speaking to my wife, and this is a while back, and she was trying to get into football, or to have an understanding of football. And one of the things is she's like, okay, so if a manager wins, then the team keeps him forever, up until the point where he loses. Do you know that the fans can dislike a manager even though the manager is winning, just because they don't like the type of football that he plays?
He's playing.
And then she's like, isn't it a result-based sport? That's result-based as it is. We still need to be entertained, and when we're entertained, we need to be entertained by the form of football that we recognize as entertainment.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's like same thing with Eric Tinkler for Pirates. I feel like Naloyo, we got rid of him at the wrong time, because he was getting us to finals. Yes, we were losing, but you could clearly see that we were just unlucky, I think there's a time we reached 4 finals and we only won 1 out of the 4. And then, of course, Pirates supporters, Tinkler Melavai, Tinkler left, and they replaced him with who? Mushin Etukra. Then
Vanshire
was a mistake.
6 back to back.
The
6 back to back. Epitori. The Pretoria teams.
You travel all the way from Orlando to go watch Pretoria. And the highway is going to be a long drive.
You should have just supported Kaizer Chiefs after that, my friend. I mean, now Chiefs at least.
Chiefs. Chiefs had a dark day. I remember the day where Sundowns decided to make us play half ground, and they scored a goal with the most touches.
The darkest day for Kaizer Chiefs was when we were number 1 the entire season.
In the last couple of days.
Last couple of days. What was it? 89th minute against Baroka. Header. Yes, in Asbamba so. Pito was winning 2-0 that time, 3-0. That was the darkest day of Kaizer Chiefs.
But honestly, Sundowns that I like it was the Sundowns, not this new money Sundowns. The days of Roger Futum that should have been South African. I don't know what happened to him now. But that was a maestro in
even Peter Ndlovu, dog.
Yeah, Peter Ndlovu. Yeah, I think he still works for Sundowns. To Peter Ndlovu, I think so. I think to be corrected.
Because Peter Ndlovu was coming from overseas, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
when they
he
got
had
him.
a
But
Yeah.
but before we move, I mean, Sundowns right now doesn't have a philosophy, and back then they had a philosophy,
yeah,
and sadly now Sundowns' strategy is simple. Every player that beats Sundowns, we buy them. I
Yeah.
remember there was a
But
guy that played for Amazulu, Otade. He was South American. Why
yeah.
shy Sundowns and get 2 goals, one tang with the January transfer window? Where's he now? He was a lethal striker, that guy. Same with Jeremy Broki. He was killing it. Broki
Hey,
should have come to
that
maybe a
one used
Chiefs
to
or
chow
a
pirates.
sniper.
No,
but
and
Sniper.
Rocky was
Here's
a
on that
problem.
argument. On
Sundowns.
that argument,
Man.
Motis, do you know the
Yeah,
Chiefs now at one point? Chiefs used to do the same thing
Not
when
Chiefs,
Chiefs had the
Pirates.
muscle.
Not Chiefs. Pirates did it. Pirates did it when they had all those left backs, and they did not know what to do with them. Chiefs never did it, Chief. At least Chiefs, we have
uh,
some sort of rotation. Now, as Chiefs Sundowns killed Obringoma. If you watched
ush,
Obringoma at Cape Town City when he was playing with Manyama, you will
mm,
understand the type of football that guy plays.
But I think
Pirates
let's have this
give
conversation then.
give
Let's have this
Mutuka.
conversation. Uh,
Come on.
yeah,
is it the side that kills the player, or is it the player having an understanding of the side that he's signing for?
Well, you've got to remember, Chief, at the end of the day, like I'm 30, right? I'm turning
yeah.
30 now this year. If you come to me and you're doubling or tripling my salary, Chief, I'm
With
going
the,
to
with the
take
what?
it.
With the
Where
4-year contract,
I'm going to
retirement
take it.
home. Yeah.
Exactly. At the
Yeah,
end of the day,
fire.
South African football, as much as they earn a shitload at a young age, it dies out quickly. They don't have
Yeah,
pension. They don't have all those little nitty gritty things that are important that you get when you're playing in Europe. Something
mm,
that Anele Ngonga used to speak about. So,
yeah,
unfortunately, their strategy is we pump money, we take the players. Begu Maluleka.
yeah,
Maluleka
George.
would have
Ush,
excelled, Chief, at Nolibesi, both Georges. They would have excelled
yeah,
still at Chiefs. They would have still made it, dominated. This was probably the one season where Maluleka would have the armband fully and he'd be free to play in the middle of the park. He'd be the leader that we need for the team. But he
yeah,
chose money
It's
over
yeah, it's
loyalty.
that thing where you sacrifice your talent over. But end of the day, Ndoda,
It's
I
a
think
short
being a
career,
legend
man.
doesn't pay the bill.
mm-hmm.
Exactly, and that's
And
the problem. So I think we need this FIFA fair play what policy that they have, because
Financial
right
fair play.
now, financial
mm,
fair play, that one right
Mm.
now, Sundowns is killing South African football and their talent. I mean, now they've just signed Uronwen, right?
yeah, Williams. Ish,
I mean, is he really going to bench Onyango? He has the
ish,
capabilities, but is he really?
yeah,
And Hugo Bros' his biggest cry is that the PSL teams are not playing South African goalkeepers. That's his
mm-hmm.
biggest cry to date. So now, if our Bafana captain is being benched, who are we
Hey.
going to play? Uveli Motwa as our number one. Bruce Vuma. Vuma's going to be benched by Peterson.
Yeah,
That's clear. It's just how it is, unless he's lucky or something happens in training. So
yeah,
for me, Sundowns needs to just wake up and realize that yes, we're paying them well, but we're
yeah,
ruining careers now. We're now killing the players' careers because Usipombule,
It's career
Chief,
suicide, to be honest.
Chief
It is
yeah,
career
Usipombule,
suicide.
Usipombule for the type of football he plays and for the time, the amount of talent he has. Notabuko Mukwena. They should have just
yeah,
come to Chiefs in the real things, in the real world. Chiefs doesn't pay badly, but they don't
yes.
pay as well as Sundowns does. Pirates I patali.
Hey, Tina, hey, hey, Tina,
But
Danga,
okay,
yo.
what are the
Yeah,
numbers thingy that are always thrown around for the elite players when you're talking salary wise? Because I know at one point Ukune apparently he was earning 400 a
For
month
eight.
and
Yeah, I think
yeah,
he's
480 a month.
yeah. Rumor has it he's around 480, but I'm not so up to date with salaries. But if we look at the Sundowns bonus structure, any trophy you win, the entire proceeds go to the technical team and the players. Nothing for the club. You
yes,
understand? You understand
Yeah,
that when they
you can't
won
argue with that.
you
exactly
can't.
when they won ICAF in 2016, the prize
Yeah,
money was 20 million. 20 million for the
yeah,
technical team. I think it at the time takes 10%, that's part of the contract or something.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have what? 18 million left to play with. 18 million amongst the players. That's more than a bar each, or close to a bar each, as separate bonus from your normal bonus structure.
This is just your performance bonus on one cap.
Yeah.
Bench, no bench. You are eating from that pot. Chances of Sundowns winning the league, high. So that 10 million, if it's still 10 million players, you understand? But we need NetBank. How much is NetBank now? 4 million, 3 million, whatever it is.
And there's MTN 8
MTN
bar, I think.
8 bar
8
straight.
million, 8 bar players. So you understand, you can't necessarily, the moment you come with that structure, nobody's gonna say no, my friend. And you look at from a salaries perspective. I mean, those guys are living good. They living good.
Are.
Look at Homoquenas in Dubai now.
Yeah, especially players who've been playing for the club for quite some time, like Onyango. Onyango has been there for a minute, and you can imagine how much. Yeah, he started there because Kennedy Mueni. Is he still there, Kennedy? The greatest penalty taker of all time. And that guy is a pro. Ask Ivory Coast, bro. They'll tell you. In the
I think you're right. At some point, we must reach out to Denny Jordaan and say, hey, Denny, just introduce financial fair play in South Africa and see where that gets us.
And speaking of Denny, because our conversation is with Denny. I just hope load shedding behaves on my end, gentlemen. Like, as I'm so scared. But of course, I've just shared my screen. I'm not sure if you guys can
186. See. Yeah, we can see it's 186 votes. Ne?
Yeah, Robert Barawa was like, hey.
Who votes for these? Who's this panel? I want to know the panel.
I think we in one of the conversations that we had, that was asked as in who in their right mind is willing to take the bag and look the other way and say Danny is the right man for the job.
Dog.
And reports back to their branches to say, branches, I made the decision that Danny is the best person for the job.
Like,
based on how South Africa operates, I tend to believe that there's some sort of structure or kickback or something that Danny has. There's some sort of weight. I mean, Danny was once the mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay.
Yeah.
And he must have won that somehow. I mean, I don't know who voted for him as a politician, but I mean, if we come back to football should be based on what you've done and what you've fixed and what you've achieved. And I know it's a sport that has now become more of a business than for us to be entertained by. But, how much revenue has he brought in if under 23 is not playing? You're not selling those tickets if they were being sold. How much money is he bringing in if Bafana can't qualify for EFCON? If Bafana can't qualify for AMA World Cup? Bruce was right, and whatever his surname is, lawyer. He said that we wanted we qualified for the World Cup because it was a present.
Weren't you the same person who said he's wrong for voicing that out?
I said time and place for everything. There's a time and place for everything. You don't just go on TV and start saying, there's this. You understand? Yeah. But he wasn't wrong, right? But time and place for everything.
It's just,
go X.
No, I was just saying, it's just Ivari, the truth hurts, bro. Like, I even saw Dr. Kumalo also made a statement of how South Africa should be coached by a local coach. And the issue is not coaching. That's the problem, especially the older generation. If there are any older generation watching right now, it's everything starts from the ground up, bro. You can't build a house on a flat plane. You need to ensure that the foundation is clear and is solid. So that when it rains, your house doesn't get carried away. And so for me, it's bigger than coaching. It's just a systematically financially, Sihle, the other Sihle, pointed this out, bruh. Like, SAFA is not making the money that it used to make in the past. And I just feel
Exactly.
like right now it's
Yeah, but
the
it's
yeah,
it's a business, and if the
yeah,
business is not succeeding, guess what? All the
yeah,
investors are going to pull out of it.
yeah.
It's
But
it's
I
it's
was
it's it's one of those things
yeah,
where when Hugo, I understand where Hugo is coming from. You can't have a
yeah,
player like Aaron one Pisanga, that the Pisaka. That's one player that you guys would understand. He can't trap a ball, and you
yeah,
can't then take him and say, national coach, here's a player for you. He's gonna look
yeah,
at it. The fundamentals are all wrong. He does
yeah,
not play. It goes back to what we were saying. Your team has to have an identity, and
yeah,
the identity of the of how we play as a nation needs to be embedded at a very young age. If it's from
yeah,
Shire shoe shine and score goals, start from a very early age, which is a partial shoe shine. It then carries through, right?
Exactly.
We see it on the
yeah.
on the EPSL, and it will then one day end up in our national side. Do you see that happening right now with that disconnect that's currently going on in SAFA House, where SAFA House is sitting right up top, not even understanding what was going on the ground?
Yeah.
That is why my biggest advocate for South African football is Upito. Upito is one, straightforward and brutal. Number two, Upito knows the systems and understands the systems at all levels,
It's
from a
played.
player's perspective,
Yeah,
from a playing in Europe's
Mhm.
perspective, from coaching in South Africa, dominating Africa.
Yeah.
And Upito now, what has he done? He's realized that our development and our roots for football in South Africa are all wrong. And that's why he's opened the Upito soccer school or something
Yeah.
for
Yes.
players and
Yeah.
for coaches. And what SAFA needs to do is look at that and pull and use that as their platform to feed
they
off and
won't.
succeed.
They won't,
Because
because
if they
the
boost.
arrogance
Mhm.
the arrogance will cloud their judgment because they've got a gripe with Upito. So no matter
Yeah.
what you do, I was sorry Mutisa, to interject you there. I
Yeah.
was watching Sheikhs speaking on this issue that Uteni is now elected as the president.
Yeah.
Sheikhs coached us, and they're one of the type of football Sheikhs we played thingy
Shakes
under him.
Mashala, yeah.
We can
Ish.
it's football that we identified. Even if we lose in the final against Egypt, against whomever, there's a
Yeah.
sense of pride. Which we played our way. It wasn't good enough. It's fine.
Exactly. That's true.
Yeah, no. I fully agree with you. So,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we need people who understand where South African football comes from. And for me, Uteni has done nothing but talk a whole amount of smack on TV for our football. All he can do is speak that funny old man English of his, and I'm sorry, Tini, for the disrespect. Mara, it's
yeah.
time. No, it's time. We need
How
new
is
legs. There was a
70?
time where they said
What
that
can you offer us?
what there was a time where they said there's a
Yeah.
technical committee or something. Abu Khateb and Abu Banbane are going to be on that committee to advise them as to what they need to do. Where is that? And it's sad to see, Guti, Abu Jali, Nabu Tulani Serrero, that have succeeded and played, yes, in lower leagues in Europe, but they've played week in, week out, started at our under 23s. And previously we've spoken about how Abu Stephen Pinar come from the School of
Yeah.
Excellence. Stephen Pinar dominated EPL. You have
Yeah.
Abu Keegan Doley. He comes from the School of Excellence. You can see it
Yeah.
in the way he plays football. That's why he managed to go to France. Yes, injuries killed his career there, but that's how he
Yeah.
managed to do it. So you look at Abu Steve Liquilia. They had opportunities left, right, and center. Where do they come from? You've got to understand I'm a big advocate of the Transnet School of Excellence. Big, 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 big.
You
For
you
what
and I
it's
you and I
done
both.
for
You and I
South
both,
Yeah.
African
Mutis.
football. I
Yeah.
mean, we go
I,
we look at Northcliffe. You
Yeah.
leave Cliffview, and I'm
Yeah.
going to speak about these schools because these are schools that I can speak about, right?
Yeah.
And you go to Cliffview. We played all those soccer tournaments. We played Abu St. John's, Abu Banban. You go for these
Yeah.
trials for district, this, that, the other. Then you go to Northcliffe and there's only rugby.
Yeah.
That's a
Now you
tradition
have
we've had. Whereas Ekasi back then, they had Ama high school tournaments where they could find Abu Dr. Kumar at a
yeah.
young age, 14, 15, you groom him nicely. You understand? You can groom him nicely. Now that everybody is coming to these what used to be known as Model C schools, why do these schools not have football?
Exactly. That is a very good question. And I believe,
It is. It's a valid. It's
yeah,
a
it's a
valid,
very
valid question.
valid question. Yeah, because I feel like, you know, when you look at how rugby is in SA, I mean, from a tournament standpoint, there's so many tournaments for rugby and they all get broadcasted on TV. Awetiski, yes, there
Structured.
are,
It's
yeah,
structured, and
it's very,
in it being
yeah, it's,
structured, in sponsors
are
are
willing.
dining, are literally sitting outside Saru House and saying, "We are here for you," because we can
Exactly. I mean,
see you've got a package, you've got something that people are invested in. Right
yeah,
now, SAFA fits in.
you
No,
see what
no,
I'm
but
saying,
but
dude?
but also when you look at it now, I'm gonna go
Mm,
top down.
yeah.
Springboks have the capability of winning the World Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Junior Boks have the capability of winning the World Cup. That
Mm.
structure is built
sevens.
from Varsity Cup. Varsity
I've,
Cup, all of those are groomed from these development teams, Abu Free State Cheetahs, Bulls,
yeah,
which come from Craven Week, which come
yeah,
from this high school first team thing that plays on DSTV. So
yeah,
it's how the structure is built up, and it all makes sense once Usia Kolisi played first team grey. You
yeah.
play first team grey, your chance of becoming a Springbok is
Are very
immense.
high.
You
Yeah,
Yeah,
understand?
your
Because of
path is
how
already your path is
exactly
already it's you know
yeah,
what is next. South
you're
Africa, we
yeah,
don't
modeled for
sorry,
that.
football, we don't have that.
yeah. It's like to a point
Exactly.
where to a point where what is this? Craven Week, bro. It's not only South African scouts that are there. You've got
Yep,
Scottish, you've got
yep.
Irish,
You've
you've
got the
got
English, you've
English,
got
you've got the
literally guys from New
French.
Zealand
Yeah,
scouting there.
The
Yeah,
The
scouting. Yeah, the
Japanese.
Japanese, they're here to actually poach the players that don't make it like to the Springboks or even get into the varsity cup teams, just to show you how good and how we've got such a plethora of talent when it comes to rugby, bruh. And I wish football could also be that way. Once upon a time we were
it
like that.
won't, because you've got a 70-year
Yeah.
old who by no
Mm.
means in disrespecting, he's ran his race, and I think
Yeah.
he's finding it difficult to let go. I don't know whether it's because, well, in his words,
Can
he
I
said,
just interject? Can I just what
Yeah.
race did he run, Chief? I can't run cross country. That's why I didn't play it as a sport. He has not
Yeah.
run any race. It's just time for him to step down. It's
I
been
was
Yeah.
time
being
for him for the
polite.
longest of times. Nah,
Mm.
we must be
Yeah.
honest, Chief. We weren't
And
polite with Ole when he was getting fired. We
yeah,
must
I
be
know.
honest. He cannot he
Yeah.
cannot run. To start with, you can't run. Why are you running a race? You can't
Yeah.
run. Get off so people who can run the damn race run. You
Yeah.
understand? People who understand where football comes from, who understand,
Mm.
what is required to build a football system comes from. You understand? There's the Nike sentence away to it was built for a reason. It was
Where is
built
Exactly.
it
to
now?
groom the talent, right?
It's
It was
still well
built
maintained, Joanna. Like I won't
fair,
lie, it's still yeah,
fair.
it's still clean.
But
But of course, it's
what
Nike that's taking care of
are
it.
we
Yeah.
seeing the fruits from what Nike invested there? No, we're not,
No,
Chief.
we're not
And
at
and
all.
it's and it starts with these football tournaments, Chief.
Yeah.
If you can build it at a high school level, and then we have solid development platforms and
Mm.
schools, and because let's be honest, half the football players are not the smartest kids in class, right?
Yeah.
If you send them to the school of excellence, they're studying and passing, which is great, but they're also doing what they love.
A huge
Similar
chunk
to
of the
how
day, yeah, a huge chunk of
exactly,
the day is spent. It's a
exactly,
brotherhood where they know that they spend from 2 o'clock they're training. They're
Mm.
done with school
exactly,
for the day, and they need to maintain these marks for them to be kept at the school so that they can develop to being better players. It's almost
Yeah.
like
exactly.
there's a gamble that we are taking as South African when it comes to football and development. What used to happen back then, you had a lot of, because there's a lot, if you do the numbers, Ekasi Itiski is the number one played sport. So
Yeah.
that means you've got a huge pool of people that are going to be interested in being introduced into the into the game by just virtue of numbers and it being the popular sport.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we've left it to chance, Uti. These players, out of the 100,000 or whatever million that we've got, a few should be good enough to make it for to Bafana Bafana. But in them being good enough, they lack the basic understanding, development from a very, very, very early age. Because I'm not going to lie to you. When the football basics are muscle memory most of the time.
Yeah.
How to trap the ball. Ball comes, this is what you do. It's literally muscle memory. And for you to get to that point, it's repetitive. And we don't have that with these young kids. And we expect them to, once they hit 18, also actually in South Africa, not even 18, we don't consider 18,
25. Yeah.
Once 25, then we can start recognizing them. Of which it's bull crap. Look at Barcelona. Look at these young kids that they've got. Who's this kid who Pedro played the whole league? Moved from the league, went to the Olympics. Do you remember when the Olympics were in Germany? Played the whole tournament, came back, and then continued playing the next season. So we don't have that.
We don't.
You look at Raheem Sterling is my favorite example. How long has Raheem been playing football at the highest level? And a lot of people don't realize. And let me just, and I just want to confirm his age quickly, because you've got to understand, he's 27. He's 27. Yeah. 27. Yo. How long has Raheem been playing football at the highest level? Highest level. He's represented England from what? Under 16, 2009. Yeah. He played for Liverpool from 2012. That's 10 years ago. He was 17. 17. Playing EPL football.
Which is
week out.
Week out.
Can you imagine a young Jali starting to play at 17, and we can then look at him at 17 and say, okay, sure, now there's a player there who week in, week out. We don't do that,
and it's because of our president who does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a structure. He has no systems in place to build that plan. And I think I listened to Uriya on Andile Ngube's radio show. Yeah. And she mentioned that, he's the president. It's his way or the highway. And, if that's
it's more dictatorship than anything.
That's a dictatorship indeed.
And you can see it in how Bafana is delivering. You can see it.
But we can't be a one-man show, James. We honestly, we can't.
Why do we not have a technical director? Tell me why we don't have a technical director. The last technical director was Neil Tovey. His contract expired after 5 years and they didn't renew it. Why?
Yeah. I thought we're moving like Man United pretty much. No
vibes,
structure.
Vibes and their salary and that's it.
Yeah.
United, no,
I think,
but it's the truth though, Mudisa. It's like I'm trying to be funny. Yeah.
What pains me, it's that it's the view of that it's almost like the people that vote for him feel if he's not there, they're not chowing.
Yeah.
And they're almost putting themselves first prior to ANC. The country.
Yeah.
ANC.
Yeah, pretty much though.
And this has filtered through society because that's where South Africa is right now.
Exactly, we've got a culture of that now as a country. It's normalized to move in that way.
It's quite scary. Guti, a person can come up and say, Guti, I choose my party before I choose the country.
How?
That in itself should be it's a treasonous crime, and should be classified as such.
It's just sad in how the direction our country is going in, and it's gonna take I don't know how long. And if you look at all the leaders that are doing this, let's look at their ages, and let's look at the majority. Exactly, the majority in our country are between the ages of 25 and 35. That's where our population lies. A cousin of mine yesterday was relating a story of how SAFA told them they didn't have funds for a 2 weeks soccer camp, and allegedly the same SAFA paid their exco. There you go.
And this is
How's
my
the story?
friend. This is my boy Olani. And you know how I responded? I simply played that snippet of Sihle talking about how Safa just is not having money. And but still, it doesn't give them any right to pay the ESCO. The ESCO, you don't get. And what bonuses are they getting, dog? Because these guys are underachieving.
Is that a performance? Is that a performance-based bonus?
What are their
Bro, like,
If it's
KPIs?
a performance-based
I want
yeah,
to
bonus,
know their KPIs.
what
What are
yeah,
their
performance-based are we talking about
KPIs?
if you don't have money?
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, what are their KPIs? I mean, if your KPI, I would like to also see the financials. When last they made a profit?
Nah,
God damn.
Yeah,
If they're paying to people 3
Government,
million and we can
South
barely get
Africa,
the
South
Lacoste
Africa,
sportive
we don't
sponsor
show
right. Aye.
we don't
yeah,
show financials. Look at SAA. I don't want to make it
yeah.
political, but look at SAA. SAA when last did they show the financials?
You hide that shit, dog.
So,
You hide that shit, dog. It's accounting irregularities, Modisi.
leave me out of
Irregularities.
this one. Leave me out of this one. I'll
As
pass.
Modise
Forgiven.
angizingeni.
Yes. Pero,
Angizingeni laba sayina lama financials laba
yo, dog.
preparayo
I'm sure, dog.
angizingeni.
I'm sure that
Hey,
you sign them with a gun on your head, but you sign about
hey,
sign.
you
And
know,
you're like,
but
as
but but people also have to understand. You know, I watched the Zondo
yeah,
Commission, and I'm going to go off track a little bit here
yeah,
because we speak in financials, and
yeah,
they grilled a partner that I worked with at PwC, and you realize how people, even the lawyers fraternity, doesn't entirely understand how auditing works. Because even if you read it on a piece of paper, chief, I cannot. If you look at 1 million rand, 1 billion rand, you
yeah,
cannot tick off every single invoice that makes up that 1 billion rand. That's why it's sample based. And
yeah,
you need to understand that to understand how people's decisions are made. Yes, there's loopholes. I won't
yeah,
dispute that. There are definitely loopholes, and there are things that are bypassed in senior meetings. That is very
yeah,
true. But but in reality, you've got to understand that it's all sample based. That's
mm,
why even if you read the opinion, it says reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
because you
you
can't.
know
It's out of
exactly
out of that billion, how many transactions were involved in that billion?
exactly
Say there were
exactly
100. Out of the 100, your sample size is what? 50? Let's say 60.
yeah,
and that's why even if we look at the SAFA financials, they can still be manipulated.
yeah,
You know, they're not supposed to in realistic terms, based on what's signed off, based on integrity, blah blah, all those things that these guys are are compiled or need to comply with. But in reality, it's what can really happen, because we live in a world, we live but for me, at the end of the day, I'm interested to see their financials, because on paper, remember, your financials need to speak to reality. And if I
yeah.
look at reality where I'm sitting today, I don't
I
see how
see.
SAFA is
Reality
making a
says
profit.
Safa doesn't have
I
money
don't
for
see
a
how SAFA is
2 week
making
camp.
exactly.
Mm, yeah, I know
So
that's
those,
true.
and that's why there's a REM report, a remuneration report, where you can see the
Yeah,
KPIs for the exco. So we understand that, okay, here are your KPIs. This is how your bonus was
yeah,
calculated, and this is how we got to your payout. So we need to understand and link that, and how they got paid 3 million rand when we don't see the performance.
mm, definitely, bro.
It's that
Because I,
simple. For me,
Yeah,
as a
because
president,
then,
one of your KPIs should be getting sponsorship.
mm-hmm.
Getting sponsorship.
Proper
Chief, we can't
sponsorship.
ex- we
Mm,
cannot get La Coque sportive right.
exactly. No,
La
who
because
gets
Coque.
spot?
it almost feels like Uguti, if I'm the president of ISAFA, I make sure that I've got my boys in there. Modise is there, X is
Yeah,
there. When it's bonus time, I know X has got a family to feed. I
mm-hmm.
don't care really much if how X has performed for the year, but X, you need the million
Yeah.
Tata Nai. And
Hey,
knowing
dude.
very well X has been not available to do anything for the federation.
Nothing, bro. I'm hardly in meetings. I'm hardly, doing the job that I'm meant to do. My 9 to 5 is pretty much a 9 to 10, pretty much. As far
Exactly.
as
Yeah,
9 a.m.,
exactly.
ngitshayisa 9 a.m., ngitshayisa 10 a.m. I don't even, do my time,
No, but I
So
think
yeah.
it just goes back to I think there was a conversation and I could be wrong. And the conversation corner, it was looking at the whole ICASA, ICASA selling the spectrum. And I think in a space of a year, they were scheduled to meet, I think, 4 times. And each time they were supposed to meet, the meeting was cancelled because they didn't meet quorum. So then someone asked, okay, quorum, how many people are we talking about? And they were talking about 10 people. So for the whole year, they never met.
Yo,
because they couldn't get 10 people into the room.
That's crazy, dog. That is insane, dog.
So remember, the Koromia corner, it's only 10 people out of a pool of people.
Guys,
yes,
come on.
Like it could be like 40 people. So we just need 10 people to be there present.
Yeah, man. I know.
Yeah, but that's why I'm a fan of governance. I think governance, allows for these things, and that's why, when you sit on a board, you've got to sit on a board with the aim of adding value. And that's why, what's her name, Ubusi Mavuso, when she spoke out on the ESCOM issue on public TV, on national TV, about how this is all political and not for the board to take accountability for. I like that because she's there for a purpose and she's protecting her reputation as well.
Exactly.
And
and how they kicked her out, bro.
Because you're doing the right thing. Because you're doing the right thing. Why do they not want Dorian Lidwaba? Why do they not want her? And I'm not saying that she should have been president.
If they don't have,
maybe not.
If they don't have Denny there, it means the cadres that are there, that are deployed,
exactly.
are not going to chow.
And also, some things will come out. I think Denny is going to take these 4 years to fix a lot because he wants to rebuild and revamp his reputation. Because if someone takes over now, a lot of things are going to come out. Look what happened after Zuma left. Everything came out. Everything. Yes. And now what's happening, that everybody that was pro-Zuma is trying by all means to find loopholes with Ramaphosa. And they are, because he's not perfect. He's a president. But we're forgetting that before he was president, he's still a billionaire. So yes, he shouldn't have $4 million lying under the bed, but he runs an auction.
I know, but that's a shitload of money, though. Cash.
That's 60 million rand.
Nigga,
that one.
My nigga, we going, gents, we going. For what for are we going off the grid, gents? We're going off the grid. Stage 6
no.
does not exist, right?
Yes. Yeah. My point with this is that everybody protects who they believe in, and that's what I think, or who they're eating from, and that's what I think is happening with Denny. And they're protecting Denny now because he's not gonna. If he goes off, all the corruption is gonna come out. All the stuff that he's done, the irregularities and everything that has happened at SAFA is going to come out. The CEO of the previous CEOs of SAFA, they're going to bleed, all of them, in what has happened. Why did Kirsten, I think the previous president was Kirsten. I think he was there for one term. And, after he left, there was allegations of this, him and his CEO, there was allegations of that. And I think they're protecting Denny against that because Ramaphosa is going through the same thing, and Denny will go through the same thing.
Yeah, if you take this, sorry, man. If you take this X and you explain to someone who is raised in the streets, as in who is hood, like Ikasi hood, they'll tell you, no, this is gang affiliation. That's all it is. Yeah. It's literally they are a gang, and this is it ends there. That's the long and short of it. There's no one who's looking out for the country. The country is on its own.
Yeah, and that's true. And I was gonna ask, like, how many terms are you meant to have? Isn't it just 2?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's meant to be 2, guys. Like, then Deguti is now pushing his 3rd term, and in his tenure, Bafana's performances have dipped, bro. Teams like Morocco didn't ice us the way they are currently. They weren't this like the gap wasn't that big whenever we played against the likes of your
No, duh.
Moroccos.
and 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 and, and if I
Yeah.
say this, it's gonna sound like I'm going back in time, as in ancient history. If you look at the only, well, not the only, the AFCON that we won back then, we used to go toe to toe with the best in Africa, and the result was never certain. It was we
We
would
were
fight
one of
right
the
up until the.
best in Africa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where are we now?
And we
And
had the bag.
Uteni mebuka right now. What does his conscience say to him about the state of affairs, of the state of football affairs in the country?
Does he even have a conscience?
That's the other question. Do any of these so-called leaders have a conscience? Where I was, and it pains me to say this. I was having a chat with a political a friend who his house is in a district ran by the DA, and yet he pushes the narrative to vote for this party. But he knows very well that where he stays, services are being delivered. And he knows that his party is not capable of delivering, but yet still he pushes because it's politics of the stomach.
Big facts.
That's why when they want votes, they go for the majority, which are in the townships, which are in the villages, which are in, that's where they are, not in the burbs.
Urban,
I think next year's, as a country, next year's elections are going to be far more important than we had
important or not. Who do we vote for? That's my biggest challenge. Who do you vote for? And we'll have this political discussion one day. And people tend to say it's a very important election next year. Yes, it is very important. Like all the other elections.
Which devil do we choose? It's better the devil you know.
We vote for. Even the one we know we don't trust anymore. So who do we vote for? I just have a question for all the leaders, and the leaders of the PSL, the leaders of SAFA, the leaders of our country. What do they want to leave us with as a
What's their legacy?
Forget their legacy. When they go, we'll have nothing left. We will have no country. All the resources will be gone. We will have no football. They would have killed every single investment that comes with football. And we will have nothing to feed to the next generation, which are our kids and our grandkids. So are they proud to look at what they were left with by their forefathers, which was dominating football, which was democracy, which was a winning mentality when it comes to what's played on the field? And are they proud of the baton that they're handing to us, which in fact they don't want to hand to us as yet?
Hey, they're
holding
on.
They're holding on.
So for me, I want to know, what do they, when they become our ancestors, for those who believe in ancestors, which I do, right? What do they want to leave us with? Do they want to sit there as our ancestors and say, yeah, Modise, I left you with this and that, and you're not doing anything, or leave us with nothing and say, chief, work, build it? That's my question.
I want to ask you, sorry, Modise, that's a very philosophical question that I can promise you right now. You they wouldn't be able to answer it, because when they die, their own families' finances might not be in check. Because if you think about it, most of them have got stolen money, and they've tried by all means to go right ahead and hide it here, hide it there, hide it here, hide it there.
Pulling a Pablo Escobar.
Yes. and when whoever they are dependent on, because remember, all of these all these things are connected. Whoever they're dependent on to be the person that is feeding them, if they go, remember, they tied in with them, and in the long run,
Chief Sitley, I look back to when I was growing up, man, and how we heavily relied on the post office and how smoothly it was run with the guys in bicycles and the guys in motorbikes. And and you get your mail. I remember when I was accepted at UJ in 2011, the letter came from the post office, Chief.
The guy
Today, our
was wearing
post office,
the guy was wearing what navy blue uniform
exactly, the post
shorts.
office
Yeah.
today is basically redundant. We have no post office. There used to be a big post office thing here at Cresta, Chief, that worked perfectly, smoothly. All
Hey,
the
that one is
letters.
slow, dog.
Yeah, but post
That
office.
one if you are 8 to Puma 12. Like, yo. And you know when you stand for long, your lower back, bruh. How you feel
And
it,
the
bro?
post office doesn't even sell the national lotto tickets anymore.
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is all these things tell a story of what they were handed over to what they're leaving us with
Yeah,
as a
with
nation. We lost the SAA. SAA was the best, what's this?
In Africa.
In
aviation.
Africa,
Yeah,
aviation.
aviation.
It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
aviation.
sorry. Aviation, company in Africa. They
Yeah.
now have been
Yeah.
taken over by Ethiopian Airways and Kenyan
Mm,
Airways. All those, and you get into those planes, they were nothing close to what SAA offered. Those are
My
things that they were left with, that they
my
took.
4-year-old asked me, it's like, Daddy, why do we get load shedded? And
that's-
then the mother replied, it's like, I know, ask your daddy. Um, and your daddy's gonna tell you about in 1950 what, who didn't do what, who didn't do what. And I said, the main reason why we're not being load shedded is that um, we were given an infrastructure that was working. Granted, it was working for a few,
Yeah.
but we didn't want to invest in it. We
Yeah.
didn't want to take it to the next level. We decided we are going to chow as much of its infrastructure as possible. And every time we get questioned about what's going to happen tomorrow, that's tomorrow's problem. And
Yeah.
guess what? Tomorrow is today now.
Yeah. I
And
hear
tomorrow
you.
is also still coming. Tomorrow is today, and it's still tomorrow and the
Yeah.
next day. And
Tomorrow,
Yeah.
all the corruption with and before, and I know we must go, but
Yeah.
like,
and
Yeah.
all the reserves that have been
who,
sold off that no one can
who
account for.
Eish.
who grew up and never wanted to work for ESCOM? Chief, I saw myself as CFO, ESCOM, dominating there. Now I don't want
Yeah.
anything to do with ESCOM, Transnet, blah, because your
Yeah.
reputation will be down the drain because everybody forgot what our country was built based on,
Yeah.
But yeah, so
So,
Danny, step down. It's time. Your brother,
where's the
and you.
Telcom right now? From where Telcom was.
Telcom Telcom is but because the state sold its portion, most of its
Yeah.
portion, and it's basically a
Mapuma
private
fast.
company. It's
Yeah.
basically a private company, and look at it, flourishing,
Flourishing with the
flourishing.
who's its name? Sipo, ne?
Sipo,
Was it
Yeah.
Masego or Nkosi or something?
Sipo
Ubani?
Masego, because I think
Yeah.
Jabu passed away.
Yeah.
He's the previous chairperson. Yes, so Sipo
Yeah,
Masego. I think
Sipo
you're right.
Masego.
Yes,
Yeah, he's
yes,
doing well,
chairperson.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he is. He
You
is.
know,
It's because I see
yeah,
here.
that's the one.
Yeah, it's Sipo
Yeah.
Masego. Yeah.
Yes.
I know.
And
Yeah.
it goes to show that private sector is taking away what our government should be doing. But we
Exactly.
cannot live our entire
And
lives off the private sector. We need a
it's
fully
it's
functional
it's
public sector.
it's this notion also of our government not appreciating competition and preferring some sectors to be monopolized, as in there's only one player in this field.
Yeah.
Why in 2022 do we still have that thought process that, well, I should be the only provider of such a service in this? Why can't we
Ish.
appreciate that we should have 10 different ESCOMs?
Yeah.
Because we're greedy.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, hi
greedy.
guys. Just leave it at greedy, guys.
Before Eskom, before Eskom comes.
Before Eskom
But
comes.
I'll leave you with the question that I'm pretty sure a lot of South Africans are mulling over right now. The painful part is that Africa is Africa. It feels different from the rest of the world. But where would you rather be? Would you rather be a high middle class South African or a middle class European?
Yo, I'd rather. Chief,
man,
I just want electricity, man.
Yeah, man, me too, dog. I just want electricity, dog.
I don't think I'm asking for a lot, man. All we need is the lights to be on and to watch.
Yeah.
Now imagine, and I'm sorry, X, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Now masks are off, full capacity is back. Which stadium are you gonna go to when there's no lights?
Dog. Yes.
They're gonna rob you, Chief. Yo,
naked. And I'm not, in as much as I want to introduce my boy to football, I'm not taking him.
Right, Chief, maybe 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Osama, I'll go. Because when there's no lights, at least but I'm not going with any of my children next. Nope. Or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be trying to save my wife's life and my kids' life.
At the same time, bro, you can't do all at once, you know. Yeah, exactly. No, but I hear you, Chance. I know, Chance. I see Valeni Lapo, Chance. Thank you so much. This was a very dope episode. Yeah, at least he has come. Yeah, Danny Vele must.
I know he must. If he has any thingy, he will step up. I won't say if he has what, but if he wants to do the right thing, he will step down.
Yeah, no, definitely, most definitely. I know, guys. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Put a brother on. This is Sleazy Sports, and we out. Peace.